This week's Dragonblade Authors Unplugged. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We've got USA Today bestselling author Alexa Aston and Kathleen Ayers. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Oh, we always love to talk about our characters. Thanks for having us, Evelyn.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much.
No, I'm glad you're here. So Alexa, your book came out this week, and it's Debating the Duke, the
Yes,
second
Debating
Sons of
with
London.
the Duke. Yes, it came out on Wednesday, Second Sons of London. It's the second of 7 books, and it was not planned to be 7 books. It was supposed to be a trilogy, and it was about 3 cousins, Tessa and Adeline and Louisa. Well, somehow they got to knowing people, and their heroes got to knowing people, and the series just grew and grew. And so, readers, you get 7 Sons of London instead of the original 3.
Oh, I love that. I love having a series that's long enough that you can really sink your teeth into and get comfortable with the characters.
Mm-hmm. I love that. But I also try to write mine so that you could pick up book 4 in the series. Mm-hmm. And it's a standalone. You get a complete romance, you get the full picture. You meet people from the previous books, and readers who have read from the beginning, I know some of them get a smile on their face, or I'll get emails or messages from them. I'm so glad you brought Spencer and Tessa back, and that kind of thing. So, and the fun thing too with the series, I like being able to show how relationships grow and deepen. Yeah. As the couple are married longer and they begin to have children. And of course, they have to help match make and help all their friends get together and everything. So it's fun. When book 1 is over, I didn't have to say goodbye to Spencer and Tessa. I don't have to do that until book 7 when the series ends.
It's harder to say goodbye then, but I love that we get to stay with them for so long. So can you tell us about the hero and heroine from this story?
Okay, I have got a very serious shy Duke. His name is Everett, and he's best friends with the heroes from books 1 and 3. And he is a sudden Duke. His brother is murdered in a very lurid way. And so he doesn't want the title, and he's kind of embarrassed about how this murder has occurred, and, society is going to be talking about it. And so he wants to get the perfect Duchess. He knows he's got to continue the line. So he's going to marry a woman who is proper and elegant and as reserved as he is. And his best friend, Spencer, his wife, Tessa, all this, has a cousin named Adeline. And she is kind of a matchmaker, not professionally, but she puts people together in the ton. And so she agrees to help him. Well, she is outgoing and vivacious and not interested in marriage. And she thinks he's dull and boring. And so, she takes notes. Oh, yes, she has this list of what Ev wants. And come to find out, she's exactly what he wants and needs. And so he figures that out before she does. They had this dramatic kiss, and then she kind of gets clued into, there's more to him than I thought. And then the rest of the book is kind of some going back and forth and getting them together.
I love it when a heroine turns a hero on his head. It's like one of my favorites, when it's like somebody comes along, and especially with the more reserved characters, when somebody sunshines them off their feet. I love that part. So.
Mm-hmm. And I have a tendency for my guys to fall for the girls first, which, sometimes that's not really what most romances are about. It's usually the heroine pining for this hero. And a lot of times my hero falls hard and fast first and has to do the convincing. So anyway, that's pretty much what the book is.
It's a little more fun with a heroine that doesn't necessarily want to marry either.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he has to work a little bit harder for it.
He does, but Tessa have had a baby, and Adeline is kind of feeling that maternal tug within her. So it's she wasn't interested in marriage because she's just having too much fun, but now she's kind of seeing where there might be some advantages. So Ev will get his Duchess.
Awesome! Sounds like so much fun. And Kathleen, your book is Forgetting the Earl, and it's the first book in the Arrogant Earls series.
It is. I have a series of, there's 3 novellas, but there's certainly room to expand because it is 3 friends. And the first one is somebody who I would fall in love with, Gideon, who is the Earl of Southwell. He is an adventurer. He's Indiana Jones as an Earl. He wants to do something. He wants to do something important with his life. So he is a map maker. He goes on expeditions. He's very daring. And poor Honora, who, as we can all relate, is young, and she's shy, and she's plump, and she has bad skin, and she's the victim of a very mean prank that involves the Earl of Southwell. But they form an attachment to each other, even through all of that. And unfortunately, because of this prank, she ends up being married to someone she doesn't want to be married to. And he goes off to the Amazon for years. And when he comes back, she decides she's going to take her revenge on him, because now she's beautiful. She has blossomed from the ugly duckling into a swan. And so she sets out to make him fall in love with her. But he's never, he knows it's her from day one. He knows. So the way that they match together, the way that they talk to each other, was one of my favorite parts of the story, because he cares for her no matter what she looks like. It's her that has to realize that. But it's a fun story. And I think we've all, or at least me in my ill-spent youth, was the victim of the mean girls. And so it's very satisfying for me to see Honora get the Earl.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
And that's part of the Dragonblade flame line. So that's a little bit spicier than
it is. I will say that this is a little on the spicy side. I will say the next two books in the series are much spicier, because when I write, I don't necessarily say, okay, well, they're going to do this much together. It really depends. For me, it depends on the couple.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so Honora and Gideon are a little bit more romantic, whereas my next couple is a bit more fiery and passionate. So there's a difference in how they connect with each other.
So we can kind of warm up with this one before we get thrown into
this. Is definitely a warm up. I will say the second book, I almost said, okay, if it's too much, let me know. And nobody let me know. So I'm going to guess that it's just enough.
Messaging, the Dragonblade team was messaging last week, and Natalie was asking, well, how many tea kettles is it, on a steam level? And one of the authors said, well, it's probably 4 or 5. And Natalie and I were both like, yes.
Yeah.
We love the 4 or 5 tea kettle one. So.
Yeah, exactly. Or eggplants. There is a readers group that uses eggplants. So, and I find that
I'm sure we can do that with an aubergine. That doesn't seem right.
Right. Well, I probably shouldn't even tell this story, but I am an amateur gardener, and one year the only thing that grew in my garden were these cucumbers of amazing size and girth, and they became a joke. They became a joke amongst all of my friends, and I have pictures of them still with, like, a pencil next to it for observation purposes. So, anyway, when I did a takeover in a readers group and they were talking about eggplants, and I said, no, you should see my cucumbers. It's the only thing I've been able to grow. I don't know why. I don't know so, but yes. That's probably too much information. Sorry about that.
No, not at all. Not at all. So I love to garden too. And I have this tiny little bit of planted lettuce and Swiss chard, neither of which will grow. So I'll get my lettuce from the farmer's market, but I put it in the ground, and I feel better about that.
I know part. You feel like you've accomplished something, and I try every year, and I end up with. My dream is to make this homemade margarita pizza, and I've been trying for 3 years.
Oh.
And I never get enough tomatoes.
So is it? I know both of you are in Texas. Is it dry, or I would think that you would have long enough growing seasons?
Oh, it's totally operator error. It's not because tomatoes won't grow. No, it's totally my fault. I get lazy and I forget about things. So yes.
Well, you're busy writing.
I am. That's my excuse, Alexa. That's my excuse. Yes.
Yes.
Well, there's nothing as optimistic as a springtime garden is when you start out and you have like you can see the whole thing ahead of you and there are no weeds yet, and then nothing has gone sprawly, and then July is a different story. So
It's a different story. The plot falls apart in the middle, I'll tell you, in my garden.
Well, just let your heroine plant,
Yes.
and her garden's going to be beautiful, and everything is going to blossom, and she'll have tomatoes and anything else you need.
and
And
somebody has to support the farmers market. So
I that's exactly true. I'll just kind of bring in my own tomatoes from the farmer's market and set them on the table and pretend they're mine. I mean,
there you
that's
go.
what I do. Yeah.
That's a solid plan. So I know, Kathleen, you had said that there are 2 more books in this series. Is there something else that you're working on right now, or are you still?
As far as for Dragonblade, I have 2 more books in this series, and I believe the next one goes up for pre-order very soon. And then also I am in the anthology for Halloween, so I'm currently working
That one
on
looks so good.
a scary little ghost story. I happen to love the paranormal. Okay, it's one of my weird things that I do, but I love the paranormal. I love ghost stories and legends and old castles. And so it was really fun to poke around in all of that and pick something that would inspire me for this little short story that's part of the anthology. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that would look so good, and the cover is beautiful. I can't wait for that one to come out.
Gorgeous cover. Gorgeous cover. Yeah.
Alexa, are you doing that one too, or are you just doing the Get Your Duke On?
I'm on the Get Your Duke On. I did the Halloween one last year, and so I only had time to do one in my schedule. And I had a character who, she's from Dukes of Distinction. Her brother was the 4th Duke of Arrogance, and Elizabeth was meant for the 5th and final Duke of Honor. And I got ready to write Sebastian's story, and all of a sudden this Hadley chick just came banging in my head going, it is not freaking Elizabeth. It is me. Sebastian is for me. And all of a sudden the plot came to me. And so I apologized to Elizabeth. I told her, I'll get back to you at some point. I just had not had an opportunity, and the Get Your Duke On came up, and I'd had several readers, write to me and say, are you ever going to do Elizabeth's story?
Yeah.
Oh, I loved Elizabeth, and I thought she was going to be with Sebastian. And well, yeah, I thought so too.
So did I.
But she and Philip get their happily ever after in Get Your Duke On. So, and I love the fact that we based our stories on summer songs. I've always loved Grease, from the time it came out. When I was raising my daughter, that was one of the first non-Disney movies that we watched. And she would sing Summer Nights in the Bathtub. I'd do the John Travolta. She would do the Olivia Newton-John part. It was anything besides Little Mermaid, because we sang that a lot. And so what I did is use a song from Grease, You're the One That I Want. And so I titled Elizabeth's story, You're the Duke That I Want. So I'm delighted that readers are finally going to get her story.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that idea.
I do too.
Oh, and then I'm also doing a duet with Catherine Levesque also. We have a Regency duet coming out as well.
And like Flynn.
The Second Sons of London, and then the summer anthology. And then Catherine and I have written about 2 brothers. And it's the night of one ball. It's the Midsummer Night's Ball from a Duke that he's very famous for hosting this Midsummer Night's Ball, and all kinds of wonderful things happen on that longest night of the year. So
there are lots of good things coming.
Absolutely.
Many things to look forward to. Awesome. So Alexa, you and I have talked about writing before and plotting in your process. And I know you walk in the mornings and dictate a little bit.
I do. It's just, I've read where movement spurs creativity, and that really has worked for me. That I get up and I check the last thing that I've written. Sometimes I even stop in the middle of a scene so that I can pick up. Sometimes I'm at the end of a scene for a new chapter. But I walk about an hour every morning and dictate into my iPhone. And by the time I get home, I either have some great ideas or I actually transcribe what I do. And it gives me a great start to the day. And I feel like I've accomplished a lot, and I feel good for the walk and being in the sunshine and, seeing the butterflies and ducks. And it's finally bunny time in Texas. So I saw 3 bunnies on yesterday's walk, and bunnies are supposed to mean good luck. So it was like, yes, it's going to be a good writing day.
Yeah, I had a bunny that was on my patio last year. It made me so excited because he'd come back every day, and I went to the farmer's market to buy a dill for him, and then he disappeared. You can eat whatever you want while you're here. I don't care.
They just are so precious. They just have the sweetest faces.
Mm-hmm. They do. They do. Jade was saying that she plots when she drives. Kathleen, do you plot, or are you a pantser?
I'm a pantser. When I used to work full time, I had an hour commute into the city and an hour back out. And so that's when I would plot in my head. But now I do it early in the morning. I also walk in the mornings, or I just sit on the patio. I have a thing about birds. And so I have a big bird feeder. And my cardinals are back this year. I'm so excited. But a lot of times I'll just sit out there and be quiet for a minute and just kind of let things come to me. I like to imagine things ahead of time. It's usually the middle parts of my books I have to figure out. I usually know beginning and end, but I got to work out the middle.
Do you get scenes along the way? Do you get pictures of scenes in your head, things like touchstones you're working towards?
Yeah, usually they're the more graphic, kind of emotional, sexual type scenes. I think through those quite often, over and over, mainly for my own amusement, I'm sure. But maybe I look like my heroines in those little fantasies. I don't know. But I don't see
a downside to that. So,
you know what? There really isn't. A lot of my heroes in my mind look like Henry Cavill anyway. So exactly. Right, Alexa?
Well, I fell in love with him in The Tudors, and I have followed him ever since.
He's beautiful. I'll even take the long white hair from The Witcher. I love all of it.
Yes.
But
I love the teenage boys, and they love The Witcher, and the idea of like the crossover between the romance community and the teenage boy community for the Henry Cavill Witcher love is
yes.
Yeah.
He's just beautiful. And so he lends himself perfectly to any dukish hero you want to have, because he has that look to him, right? But I do like to imagine. I walk through scenes quite a bit, but I do try to plot. I've tried and tried and tried to plot, but it never seems to work out. I end up rewriting that first 30,000 words in a full-length novel probably 4 times.
That's a lot. That's a lot of work.
It's very inefficient. I keep hoping that the longer that I do this, the better I'll get at doing that, but hasn't worked out that way so far.
I think some of it you just have to respect your process. I think when you get to the 80% mark, I think it's really easy to get bored because you know what's going to happen. It's like you have everything all figured out. And so I think for some people, keeping that little bit of mystery makes the writing more fun. But I think you have to respect your process. I mean, talking to all of you, that everybody seems to have a different way of doing.
Well, I think that for me, at least, I don't usually know my characters until I'm further in the book. One of my recent books, not for Dragonblade, but I knew that the hero was afraid of water, but I didn't know why he was afraid of water. And it became a joke because she's always saying to him in a very insulting way, "Oh, well, you're afraid to take a bath because you're afraid of water, right?" And so you come to find out it's not really seasickness. It's not here, but it wasn't towards the 75% mark that I figured out it's because he almost drowned as a child. Yeah. So it took a while for me to work that out. Even though I knew in the beginning he was afraid of water. So
bright spot moments where everything starts to fit itself into place, and you're like, "Oh, that's where it's going."
That's exactly.
And I love it when you surprise yourself too. That is. I'm writing for a series for next year, and my hero is a guy who owned a haberdashery, and he asked one of the tailors to teach him how to sew because he wanted to know every aspect about the business. And he winds up getting a title, one of these crazy ways that he gets a title, and he's all of a sudden a duke. And near the end of the story, I had him sew her wedding gown. And I didn't start out thinking that, but as I got closer and closer to the end, I thought, heck, the guy sews. What a great gift.
I love that.
Yeah.
What a
I
gift.
love that so much. Yeah, when you said Hadley came knocking and said I'm the heroine, Colleen talks about it that way too. C.H. Amaran says, there are the voices in your head that keep you up and move you in directions that you didn't necessarily intend to go.
Exactly. Well, I run a movie in my head as I'm writing the scene. I see what I'm doing, and then sometimes they start doing things and I'm like, wait, whoa, come back. What's going on? And everything. And because they're driving the car. They really are. So.
Well, and for Getting the Earl, Gideon he's got to court her, so to speak, even though she's a widow. But he doesn't send her flowers. Instead, he finds an obscure book by a German botanist who went through the Amazon, and he sends her the book. And she says, but I don't speak German. And he says, but I do. So he's going to read it to her. So
that's so good.
So he knew but he knew that. But when I first wrote it out, I was like, how can I fit that in? Because I went down a rabbit hole, as you're probably aware, Alexa, you probably do this too, where you're researching something. So I found out about this German botanist that died of some horrible disease in the Amazon, but he had all these books, and I thought, how can I work that in? So that's what I did.
That is terrific.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that when they figure out a way to lobby for more time.
Yes.
Like when the goal is okay, well, she's not there yet, so I'm just going to figure out how to get more time, because I know if I stay there long enough, she will realize we are meant to be. So
yeah.
I love that. That's so much fun. So we were talking a little bit off camera about Bridgerton, and I know Kathleen, from your interview that went up on the Dragonblade website this week, that you said that you read dark things and that you also like paranormal.
I'm such a weirdo. I do. I like all that.
No, I think we all like diverse things, and I know Alexa talks a lot about the things that you like to watch on TV too. That there are series that you binge and stuff. Is there anything that is not book related that's caught your attention recently? Something that you're obsessed with? I'm a Mrs. Maisel freak, and so I'm still rewatching.
For us, it's Ozark.
Ozark. Us too.
Ozark.
Oh my gosh, that last trailer came out last week, and it's like, oh, these are the last episodes. I'm
so full of anxiety for these characters that we literally, my husband and I, we only allow ourselves one episode every Friday night, and he makes me wait. He makes me wait, and but it's because we get so anxious watching it. It's just it gets you all twisted up, and it's like I knew nothing about the Ozarks per se. I'm not sure that this is a great representation. I'm just saying that I wasn't familiar with the Big Lake, none of it as a vacation spot or as a place for laundering money. But I love the series. I'm addicted to it.
So. We do too. And Mr. Aston and I are the exact opposite. I have the date on that Friday that it comes out, and we will spend Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we will binge.
And binge the whole thing.
Immerse ourselves. We love it. And of course, I think Jason Bateman can do anything. I think it's a rare actor like a Jimmy Stewart who can do comedy and drama so effortlessly. And for Jason Bateman to have been a child actor and been able to segue into adult roles, whether, comedy or drama, I have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, and Laura Linney is fabulous in it.
I love Laura Linney.
She's amazing.
She's fabulous. And Ruth, the girl that plays Ruth, I can't think of the actress right now.
Oh, I know. I can see her. Yes. She's wonderful.
Yes.
I love it. Tickles me that Alexa, you're a deliberate writer, plotter, and you binge the series all in one in one go.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Although,
Kathleen,
I mean,
can't
you
do your-
really have it wrong. I plot, but I only plot like a chapter or two at a time. I'm kind of half plotter, half pantser. I mean, you know, I sit down and I create my, well, first of all, I have to have the names first. I will
Yeah,
agonize 2 or 3 days on the
Ooh.
perfect 2
Oh,
names.
wow.
I name everybody.
Then I do
Everybody.
character
You
sketches.
really?
Then I look at the time of history, and then I start figuring out what to do. And so all I do when I plot, I have maybe 6 or 8 points that I want to hit, this, and that. And then the rest is just put on my tennis shoes and hit the trails, and it's organic. Whatever happens, happens.
Cool.
Well, and I need to learn to dictate, Alexa. So I'm going to be reaching out to you.
Okay.
For
We'll holler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could maybe do that in the Dragonblade author group. It's, you know,
Yeah.
learning to dictate would be a super useful thing. So
Yes, it really would. For me, especially. Yes.
Yeah. I'm just more productive when I do that. So.
Well, it makes sense, and I love the idea of starting the day with a walk too. And it's a way of combining. I had somebody tell me once that they had listed out all of the things they had to do, and they were so overwhelmed, and there wasn't any way to get all the things done. And so she just put a couple of them together, and one of them was walking and listening to things that she needed to read for work. And it's like, anytime you can do that in a way that helps. And I think you're right about movement spurring creativity.
It does. And, you know, you get your vitamin D, you get the sunshine, you get, you know, it's such a great way to start your day. And it helps me have room for that ice cream that I want to eat later during the day.
Right.
Yes, I'm a Bluebell fiend. I probably have 5 or 6 tubs of Bluebell in my freezer.
What flavor?
Butter pecan is my absolute favorite.
Yeah. Oh, I love butter pecan.
You know, sometimes they do seasonal ones. Bride's cake is an interesting one that they do. It literally tastes like a frozen bride's cake, and they only do that during the summer. And they do a Mardi Gras and, you know, that kind of thing. But Mr. Aston, he will go to the store, you know, for milk and bread, and he will come back. Well, Bluebell was on sale, so I bought a couple of tubs.
Gotta love a man who brings you ice cream.
I was going to say that's true love right there. That's true love right there.
Absolutely.
And Kathleen, your mint chip?
I love peppermint, and that's only comes out at Christmas. Bluebell only makes it at Christmas time. And
have you gotten the Dove dark chocolates that are also peppermint? They're only at Christmas too.
I'll
stockpile them and Thin Mints in my freezer and just kind of dole those out throughout the year.
Frozen Thin Mints.
They are the best.
They are the best.
They don't freeze so that they're rock hard. They're just cold and oh my gosh, yes. I mean, sometimes it's the middle of July and I need to have a couple of Thin Mints to get through that day.
I need a road trip to Texas.
Because I have to tell you, it'll be like 100 degrees here very quickly, like in another month. Yeah, we're about to go in the pool. The pool's open. It's ready for business, and you know that's what. It's going to be hot. It's going to be hot. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. We still have spring here. I'm in Virginia, and we still have spring here. Things are just coming up. And I was at my parents in Pennsylvania last week, and they're about 2 weeks behind. So, you know, we're just inching towards summer where we are. So
I grew up in Pennsylvania. So
where?
Right below Lake Erie. It's a little bitty town called Meadville. So it's probably 2 hours north of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So
I'm in Lancaster County, so it's about as far away as
I was going to say you're
getting the state. It's a big long state across.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, this was lovely to talk to you today. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, and I'm so excited about the books coming up in the series, and also about the anthologies that are coming out. They both look so good. When I got the covers for them, I'm like, everybody I love is in these, you know. They look great. And for those of you who are watching, the anthologies are the very best deal ever, and they are the very best deal when they're on pre-order. So you want to get them right now, pre-order them, and they will come to you as soon as they're released. The Get You Duke On comes out this summer, and the Ghostly Hour, Midnight Requiem comes out around Halloween. So if you pre-order them now, you'll get them for the very best price, and they'll come to you as soon as they're ready. So So if you haven't gotten this week's books, I'll make sure I put the links in the comments so that you can grab them. You want to grab them and fall in love with these characters along with the rest of us. And we will see you all next week at the same time. Ladies, thanks again for taking the time to talk to us. I really appreciate it.